It's time to finish the game. Let's go.
Ball first and 10 at the 12-yard line of the Seahawks. Sean goes right, has a cut back lane, and he does. He's across the 20, the 25, 30, 35, 40. Here he goes. Are they going to catch him? 40, 35, 30, 25, 10, 5. Touchdown Seahawks. What a run by Sean Alexander.
Finish the game. We gonna finish the game. Yeah. Finish the game. We gonna finish the game. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sean Alexander. You hear the music. What's up, Claude?
Sean, what up, man?
Man, it's great. We are here for Finish the Game.
Yes.
And we are excited because today we have the first Finish the Game interview.
Special guest.
Special
you know
guest.
What I mean?
It's
Very
weird
special,
because this is like a family member to me, so I don't even know what to say. So sometimes I want to say interview. Sometimes really we just hanging out.
kind of sitting around talking, man.
Right. My baby brother, he's back in town. Everybody welcome Alfred Morris.
Sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Gosh, welcome to Finish the Game. And, this show is all about just teaching people in life how to finish this thing called life. And you are in interesting shoes that I've been in before, that many guys in the NFL have been in before, and it's really going through transition. I left from the great place of Seattle to come here to Washington D.C. Shout out to everybody in Hawkland, and I love it here, and I stayed here, and we love it here, and then of course you being so great your first years in Washington, I had a similar experience, and then all of a sudden, you got many great years left, but now it's time to move on to Dallas. How's Dallas treating you?
It's treating me well so far. I have no complaints. It's definitely different, making some adjustments, but I live.
I kind of think of like when people have to transition, we always want to tell people, what do you do when you're transitioning? We have people that are transitioning jobs all the time. We have people that are going from one city to another. And, what have you learned so far about transitioning?
I learned a lot. It's spending the last 4 years here in the DMV. You almost get in a comfort zone. No matter whether you're playing football or if you're working a normal 9 to 5, you almost get in a comfort zone and get used to the same old. You get used to your surroundings. You get used to your community. You get used to your route to work. Your favorite restaurants.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you get uprooted and you have to pretty much start all the way over from scratch. And it can be really, really hard. Getting used to new, in my case, new teammates, new city. It took us forever, to find somewhere to live. We literally was in extended stay for over a month, and we found a place, and we just not really move. That's part of the reason why I'm here to come get our stuff out of storage.
You're like, hey, Sean, can I get my stuff out the storage? man, get your stuff out the closet, okay? We know that part of transitioning is finding your new community. And I tell you, when I came here, I got to play, really I was kind of coming here to kind of be a good mentor for Clinton Portis, who you broke all his records, so now it makes my stay here was nothing. But anyway, thank you about that. But I remember some of the guys I just really grew to love here. They just welcomed me in like family. Antoine Randall and James Thrash were the receivers. Chris Cooley was one of the tight ends. And actually, I stayed at his house. And it reminded me of one of those things that, like, life is still life, and somebody's got to open up a door to just welcome you in as family, and it's always made me think that when I get connected with people that are moving in town, whether it's in the sports world or other businesses that I'm a part of, to make sure that people know that there's going to be a new community that I'm welcoming them into. And have you had anybody welcome you into the Dallas community yet?
Honestly, it's been the strength coach, Mike Warsick. He's really opened up his home, opened up his time and efforts, and really been pouring into me and spending time with me and making sure that I'm adjusting. Every day he asks me, like, how are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you having fun? Are you loving what you're doing? So I really appreciate it. And he even comes to me sometimes and be like, what scripture have you read? You been reading scriptures lately?
Nice.
And I'll be like, I was like, I have. And it kind of holds me accountable. I have to be ready to give an account almost. And he's like, I was reading over in John. And, he kind of tell him what I was reading. And he kind of like just smirks. He kind of keeps me on my toes. So he's been very welcoming. I've been fishing with him. He's met my family. He welcomes them up there. Sometimes I go on Saturdays and do some extra running. And he's like, whenever they want to come, just bring them, and they're more than welcome to come in here and do whatever. So it's definitely has helped the transition go a little more smoothly.
This is Sean Alexander with Claude Jennings and our first guest, Alfred Morris, and this is Finish the Game. And, we're talking about, this topic that, we're talking about the human side of life. How is it with a 1-year-old baby now?
Yeah, it's awesome. It definitely keeps you on your toes. And he's a handful, to say the least. Has yet to sleep through the night. On average, he gets up about 3 times a night. If we're lucky, it's 1. But it's been a transition in itself as well. You go from, first of all, being 1 to being 2 and now 3, and who knows, I never can continue to grow, whatever God has in store. So it's been fun, enjoying every moment of it. It's super fun, super scary. At the same time.
If you say that again, sometimes it can be super.
Go ahead, Clyde. Go and let them know. Claude's got a 3-year-old. Alfred's got a 1 who's little Josiah, whose best friend is Jedediah, my 1-year-old. They're what, 9 days apart?
9, 10 days, something like that. Why I know better.
Hey man, so Clyde, man, so tell them about you going in when you had a 1-year-old. Tell us the greatest story of a 1-year-old.
Oh man, to be honest with you, there's only one story with the 1-year-old, and it's they don't go to sleep. And, from 1 to 3, it's like the energy just increases.
Get ready.
Find things to climb on. They jump off everything. And I find for myself, as much as you want to just be like, stop doing that, stop. I just sit back and just let them do whatever.
Yeah.
Now, my wife is a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
But I think it's because there's just differences between men and women. Like,
Correct.
I literally don't see anything wrong with standing on the couch swinging a baseball bat. Like, I don't think that's wrong. And then my wife was like, get off the couch. And I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with what he's doing.
It's like, babe, why you stopping his Willie Mays? This might be the beginning.
But I don't step into it.
Right.
When she's correcting. I'd rather it be him.
Right. Well, we got to team it up. I've learned that real quick, because of course, when I was playing, we had the first 3, and when I retired, I was like, oh man, my wife disciplines everybody. So after I retired, I realized, we had 2 boys next, so you just kind of roll into that a little bit more. And then I realized, hold on a second, she kind of lacks with these. We had the 2 girls after the 2 boys, so babies number 6 and 7 were girls, and I said, hey, I'm noticing that you ain't as hard on these 2 as the first. Oh, God, this is my responsibility now.
Right. But you know what? I would like to ask Alfred, though, how has being a father, had you seen it change you at all? Has your wife seen any changes in you? Because sometimes, having a kid, brings a different perspective.
It definitely does. I look at life totally different now. I remember the first day. First of all, I didn't get any sleep. I got like 2 hours of sleep that first day in the hospital when he was born. His mom tapped out, and I was, I wouldn't say stuck with him, but I don't know what to do. Nurses was coming in and out.
I think he wants milk. I think he wants milk. What I do with this?
I'm telling you, those are the easiest 3 days. Like, you don't get any sleep, but when he needs to be changed and fed, like, nurses will come in and do that. And you're like, okay.
Then you leave and get home, and it's like, what do we do? Like, there's no nurse here. And there's no instruction manual, so you just got to wing it. But I think I slept like 2 hours. Like, every time I stop, he would cry. So I'm just walking around, pacing the floor back and forth, and I remember one time I tried to like kind of keep moving and just kind of lean on the wall so I get some rest. And he screamed, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this isn't real life. Right. So it's awesome. But I remember the first day going back to work, I'm like, nothing else matters, like. This is the game. I love this game, but it doesn't matter. Like, my family is what matters. That's what it just made me just value my family even more than what it was before, and just the responsibility of this little being is like this kid. Survival depends on me and my wife. And
it does something.
It does, and also I think the greatest thing that we've noticed from having a kid, it really puts God's love for us in perspective. And it's like you won't know that until you have a kid, and you like. Man, like, God, like, appreciate it.
Right. Well, it's like Sean said earlier about the real side of life. People are probably listening now and just like, wait a minute, you know what? He's up at night, trying to put the baby to sleep. They don't think that you do that stuff.
Yeah, no, I remember Alfred calling up, talking about the swinging the baby in the car seat. Man, my arms are tired. I'm sleepy. We got a game. I was like, dude, press through. You know what I mean? Press through.
You're listening to Finish the Game. I'm Claude Jennings in studio, in our new studio. Yes. Still building it out a little bit. We still got to finish that game, but we will with Sean Alexander, our special guest, Mr. Alfred Morris. Dallas Cowboys running back.
I know you're proud about that, Clyde.
That was the best day of my life in 2016 when I
Yes.
found out that my boys got you, Alfred. But hobbies. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
Sean? You want to talk about healthy hobbies, why it's healthy to have just something else that you do.
You know, I think that that's one of the things that you look up in life and you start realizing that football is the greatest job for us to have this gift. But it's really just a great hobby. I mean, most of us are done by the 30, unless your name is Brady or Manning or Warren Moon. You know what I mean? You're going to be done before 30, especially us running backs. And I don't know how Emmett played 100 years like he did, but you know, you play the game and you realize I got to do the greatest hobby in the world. I got to make my hobby my job. And that's not the case for most people. And so I've always been on this process of making sure that people understand you do your job, you handle your family, handle your wife, handle your kids, you do your job, you work with excellence, but then you need to have something that takes you steps away. And of course, you know, I'm always one that says, hey, get in a relationship with Jesus, get your faith rolling. Hey, I'm also go work, go be a man, work hard, finish that game. And then I'm like, and go have something that you just love to do. And for me, it's always been about gathering people. Y'all know I love hosting dinners and parties, and we was that spot in Seattle, and we're that spot now out here in the DC area. We have people over every week and just hosting and having great fellowship around, and lots of good food. That's one thing I do love about here, man. We go and we find some great restaurants, and my wife loves to copy all the meals that we have at these restaurants, and so, you know, Alfred, I was just thinking, I know, but I don't know if the rest of the world knows. All over the country, you know, you've always been a big man about cars, and man, tell me about one of your hobbies, and we can kind of roll off in the rest of them.
I guess one of my hobbies, I really like old cars. I don't know why, but I do. And I guess it makes sense that I have a 91 Mazda 626. I still, to this day, get stuff about it. I'm kind of sad a little bit. We were moving out of the extended stay, as I mentioned earlier, and I was trying to stuff this like big box in my car and ended up breaking my door handle. So I wasn't happy about that, and I just kept it moving, and hopefully I can super glue it back together or something. But even at Mr. Sean's house, it's an old Mustang that I keep looking at. Haven't seen it in a while now, but I still want to find that Mustang. So really like old cars. I guess it's one, like you said, it could be one of my hobbies. Don't know why, but I just really, really like them. So hopefully one day I could own one.
Tell them about your hunt for the Subaru.
Oh, okay. So out of nowhere, I just got this, I guess, love for Subaru. I've never been in a Subaru. I think I've never even seen one close up other than some that ride by.
Which is why we love you. I mean, this is Alfred Morris, the Redskin great, the next Cowboy sensation, and he looking for Subaru.
So yeah, if you're out there, I'm looking for a Subaru. So yeah, I mean, where I'm from, people didn't even drive Subarus. So I mean, it's odd for me to like them, but maybe there's something there. But I'm gonna pursue it. So I'm looking probably for a Subaru WRX.
Take ownership over your Subaru love affair.
Anything in particular you're thinking about doing to the Subaru?
Nah, but I know that, like, they have different models, like the WRX and the BRZs. They're more so like the sports. A lot of people, do different tunes, suspensions, turbos, different engine modifications and stuff
Nice.
like that. So I wouldn't mind doing something like that to it, but Subaru, why? I don't know. I mean, there's so many other, car makers that you can do the same thing to, but for some reason, Subaru just fell on me. My brother, he gives me crap about it, but I want a Subaru. I don't know why.
And let's make sure we all know that your brother should give you crap about that. But hey, Subarus, we love you all. If y'all want to give any kind of perks.
Any kind of sponsorship, we're fine with that.
We actually would give it the car to Alfred, and we would keep the cash for ourselves. But
So one great thing about transitions too is that it presents an opportunity for like newness. There's a new community, there's a new neighborhood, new house, new friends, new people, new job. But then also a chance for in one area or another in our lives, a new us. You know what I mean? Even if it's a new mindset about something. Is there anything that this move to Dallas, with a new place, new teammates and stuff that you might want to say, hey, this could be a new, improved me in this area or in that area. And even if you still had it here in Washington, but it's just like there, I just want to be even better at this.
It's a clean slate, pretty much. I mean, I know with the old coaches, opinions are formed, and sometimes whether you like it or not, it's been formed, and it's kind of hard to kind of change that no matter what you do. So you get a new opportunity to go to a whole other team who seen you on game days, or seen you in film study, things like that. But now they don't, know kind of like, I guess, the behind the scenes or some of the things, limitations that you may have got stuck with. I know one of my coaches, the way he described it as putting a lid on your container, so I don't have that lid on my container anymore. So now the door is wide open. And one of the things I've really been wanting to work on is to be a complete back, to not only just be a really good runner, but also to be involved in the receiving way more, and even, pass protection. Something I just want to be a complete back, that there's nothing lacking in my game. So I get a new opportunity to do that here. So, and I want to do the best to make the most of it, and I'm excited about it.
We've been talking about the transition and how to know that this new you that's going to walk into the situation, because people don't know you in this new world or in this new city. Alfred said it best. You've got an opportunity to do what you do best, even better. And so I just want to say to everybody that's listening, know who you are, know what you're good at, but gosh, even take the lid off that and really be even better at being you. And if that's being a great gatherer of people, find a way to gather people in your new place even better. If that's being the person that always told the best jokes on break time, man, get those jokes to get everybody at such a good place that they're going to work even harder, where the bosses are like, let's give this person a raise because they came here and they've just changed the whole atmosphere of our company. Be you, but even take the lid to that to a higher level and finish the game.